in terms of what is the energy, like Yaga Mama, in terms of how do we then use that energy to improve ourselves in our lives. And as Ikhambi, we're all about holistic healing, and we not only just look at you're healing the current ailment that you're currently facing, but also looking at in terms of balancing your own life and everything that happens in your life. So as we are about to proceed, I'm going to request, before we start anything like higher, we usually do a breathing meditation first, just to invite our ancestors and our guides and our angels and Nomveli Nqangi to come into the space, and we don't speak from our own perspective, but we allow Itonga to speak. Xaba, can you please lead us into the breathing meditation?
Wasn't ready. I thought you're doing everything. Okay, just okay, if everybody can just sit comfortably in any position. If you're standing while you are or reading this, or if you're sitting, laying down, it doesn't really matter. We just want you to get comfortable, let your body just become soft. You can keep your eyes open or closed. Most important thing, we just want to really breathe into our belly. So I like these belly breaths because they really help you to just relax your body and to calm down. So we'll do some nice 3 deep breaths. So as we inhale, you want your stomach to open up, and as you exhale, you want to just make sure that you press your stomach and you have it contract in towards you. So we'll begin, and you will breathe in 1, hold it, and then breathe out slowly. And you want to breathe out through your mouth like you're blowing a candle. So you want to have that sound as you blow out, and we'll take the next breath in. And as you just breathe in, you're bringing in light, you're bringing in wisdom of your ancestors and your creator. And as you breathe out, you are letting go of anything that's heavy from the week, from the night, and you're just sighing it out and letting it leave your body, leave your temple, leave your mind. And as we do the last breath in, we prepare ourselves for this conversation. We prepare ourselves to share and to grow together. And as you're breathing in, hold it. And as you breathe out, you open up yourself to all the wisdom and the light of your ancestors and God. And you just relax. Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you so much, beloved. So I'm going to, if you're new into these sessions, we usually remind ourselves also through affirmation of why we are here. And we do that by reciting a pledge, just to remind ourselves. I'm using my phone, so my camera usually switches off when I'm reading. So if you can just, I will recite, and I would like to ask everybody to recite after me. If you are on mute, can you please unmute? We usually do this as a community together. Okay. So this is the Healer's Pledge, the code of conduct for the group, Ikhambi Natural Healing. Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
We are healers.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creator.
We owe
our
gifts to nature,
our
ancestors,
and our creator.
We live by the principles of Maat, Unhu, and Ubuntu.
We live by the principles of Maat,
Unu, and Ubuntu.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and
We will
approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will offer our advice, recommendations, and ideas with trust.
We will offer our advice, recommendations, and ideas with trust.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will share, practice, promote, and raise awareness about natural healing, healthy lifestyles, and well-being.
We will share, practice, promote, and raise awareness about natural healing, healthy lifestyles, and well-being.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehoods.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
We will give back to nature what it has abundantly given us.
We will give back to nature what she has abundantly given us.
Welcome to another In Healing Sunday session. Thank you and welcome. So out of chaos comes order. That is the theme that we had chosen for the season of Umama, the Great Mother Maat. And one may ask, Uguti, what causes the chaos in the first place? Your reflections, Mkul Menzi, your thoughts in terms of what causes the chaos? Because it could be many things.
All right, my mic was off. Yeah, hey, you're one launch, one fact. You're doing this to us today. Now it's me. Okay, it's fine. You know, it's wonderful. But can I start before I reflect on that? Can you welcome these guests that we have? That I just felt that they look so lovely.
Okay.
Introduce themselves first, and then we can talk.
So today we are joined by two beautiful and lovely human beings, Queen Marumo and King Masasela. Introduce themselves and they'll provide a brief description of who they are.
Togozan. I'm King Masasela, and I'm with Queen Marumo, my queen. We are spiritual healers and traditional healers. So yeah, that's who we are. She will introduce herself further.
I'm Queen Marumo. As you've heard, I'm with King Masasela. We're both traditional healers. We both practice, and we practice as a couple. So we're honored to have this opportunity to talk to these wonderful human beings and hope we can change lives and help people solve whatever the chaos that's going on in your life. So I'm looking forward to this session.
Hi, Siyabong. Thank you, Nkosi, and thank you, Queen Marumo and King Masasela. Now I think I can speak because I feel balanced. I'm from this Rasta background, so we always say there's no balance if it's just a man walking alone or a woman walking alone. The couple gives that sense of balance. Yes, so the chaos part, I want to start like this. You know, with this issue of Maat, there is a word that we always forget to mention because as healers, we are always focusing on the positive, which is good to focus on the positive, because we want to deal with with ailments of whatever kind. Excuse me, my garage is opening. Someone is coming to get me from my garage. I don't know why, but anyway, so we focus on the positive for good reason. Yet at the same time, it is very important in the whole story, the ancient Kemetic, ancient African story of Maat. There's always talk also of an aspect called Isfet. The word Isfet, just like you say it, I-S-F-E-T. It means chaos, right? Or it means lack of balance. Where there is lack of balance, there is illness. Where there is lack of a proper equilibrium, ukulingana, I would say in this, I speak Zulu. So ukulingana kwezinto, the equality of things, or equanimity, there is an imbalance. And an imbalance is when sickness and various kinds of ailments, whether they're psychological or physical, or even cosmic, like I'm talking about the chaos on a social sense. It means that Maat has been violated. It means now Isfet is reigning. When you look at a situation, a social situation like that happened recently of the riots and the chaos that's been happening in South Africa, we can say clearly that we're in a moment of Isfet, a moment of total chaos. But chaos now also sometimes gets a bad name. There is a reason sometimes for the chaos to be there. So I just want to just stop there for a while to say that we saw chaos, but the chaos has a root. And in order to restore Maat, yini lena edingekayo, what is that aspect that is needed in order to restore order without falsely glossing over? That's why we have Ikhambi, because we don't want to gloss over situations. We don't want to just put bandages. We want to look at the wound and inspect the wound and find out, okay, this is the source of the wound. So we want to deal with the source. Maat is about dealing with the source of the chaos so that order can be restored. So that's my reflection on that thing. It's on the physical, it's on the social, and it's on the psychological. How to restore order, how to remove Isfet and make sure that Maat reigns. Because Maat is good. But chaos is only good for showing us a way back to Maat.
As hence out of chaos comes order. So I just wanted to almost bring in Queen Marumo and ask her in terms of what her reflections in terms of the importance of having balance in terms of your life. Too much of everything is bad. So the importance of having balance in your life and your role therein in terms of the society, your family, as well as you as an individual in terms of maintaining that balance.
Balance is very, very important. And you know, like how we use the scale and would say everything needs to be equal to 100%. So everything needs to add up in your life, you know, your children, your family, your work, your patients, everything, so that you get to that 100%. And it's not always easy. You drop so many balls. Sometimes you don't even realize what is it that you haven't done to get to your 100%. So it's very, very important. And as a woman, you tend to have far more responsibilities because you need to also be the nurturer, you know, be that mother, be that wife, be the sister, be the daughter. So to find that balance, it's very, very difficult. It takes a lot of knowing who you are, where you come from, and knowing your purpose in life. So balance is very important in all aspects of one's life. So for me, it's something that I've had to learn over the years. And as you grow up, the challenges become more and the chaos comes in. So you have to know how to manage the chaos and still maintain the balance.
That's very interesting that you would say that, because we just came from a season where there was a lot of chaos and we were required to draw within and almost ground ourselves, you know, And for me, it's quite interesting that you would say that. And you brought in the feminine energy. And as we've learned this month, that feminism is not just something special for women, and there's also feminism within the male as well. And it's not something that we should actually try to hinder men with. No, you must not be that feminine. King, how would you say, Uguti, that in terms of how that dynamic plays out in our society, in terms of classifying people in that way?
Well, I would say, you know, with this whole thing of people saying feminine can only be women, to me, I find it as a stereotype, because then it actually encourages men not to deal with their emotional side and the reality of the challenges and what they are feeling at hand. I mean, we are in a different generation, and I think as healers and gifted people, we get to learn that actually the whole lineage that we pass on, if we don't actually go back and reflect with our deeper thoughts, our emotions, and be honest with ourselves as men and what we feel, then we will never build a proper society. Then we'll have a society with violent men, because they feel that they can't show their softer side or their emotions, or when they are in need, you know. So that's where the issue is with our society today, and men not wanting to deal with their emotions. So when you say to a man you're being feminine, they feel like, oh, so you think I'm a sissy. It's not about being a sissy. It's more about being real and true to yourself, you know, and allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to connect. Because the reason a lot of men are spiritually disconnected is because they feel that there is this thing that avoidance is a cure, but actually avoidance creates more chaos in their lives. Hence, there is no balance with a lot of men. That's why a lot of them will withdraw from their own family and find other pleasures in alcohol, drugs, just to numb the pain, instead of dealing with their emotions, dealing with the fact that they are sad, the fact that they are not happy with certain things that are happening in their household, but instead they choose to walk out, go deal with it in a shebeen, numb it for a moment, come back home drunk and create more chaos. So that's where the balance we need to find in the society. I mean, if we can actually encourage more men to be feminine and in touch and in tune with their soul and who they are, and be honest enough with their chakras and everything that they feel from within, you know, it'll build a better society, you know. So these are things where they've went wrong way back in our lineages. Hence, as traditional healers, we have to deal with the cases of the past generation, or the mistakes, or the ideology of the past generation that they thought was correct, but they now realize it's not correct. And they take over, like, you know, Masasela taking over and say, listen, this is what I want to correct in the society, using me in the physical society. Because they now realize from way back then that there's a whole lot of things that didn't happen right. And as traditional healers, it's now our duty to actually educate and inform the society the right way, and tell them that there's nothing wrong with being in touch with your emotions and your feminine side as a man. Come on.
Mark, you know, it's very interesting on the aspects that you really touched on. First, you touched on as you're speaking, I picked up two things, which is being authentic to self. Ne? That is the first part, which is one of the founding principles of Maat is being true to oneself, like be honest with yourself and have those crucial conversations with yourself. And the second thing that I actually picked up as you was responding is the part where you touched briefly on purposeful living, like having a purpose, finding that purpose in your life. And it's also one of the core principles of living in accordance with Maat. You cannot live in your true purpose if you are not honest with yourself. And you can't be honest with yourself if you're not having truthful conversations with yourself. It almost feels like you're looking at yourself in the mirror. You know, my therapist, when I had issues with myself, she said that, so sometimes I say he because even though she's female, she has the masculine energy. So she said, you know what, as one of the things in terms of healing yourself, you need to, she proposed an exercise and she said to me, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and you ask yourself, Wuti, what are you doing? And be honest with yourself and tell yourself who exactly you think you are. And for me, that was so profound. I don't know, do you think, what do you think in terms of the current state, what makes the people not be truthful to themselves? Because I can think of a number of reasons. Yes, it could be generational in terms of we need healing, constellation work, healing those wounds. What's your take on these issues?
I beg your pardon. Can you just go back? I didn't get you.
So I said in terms of truthful, being truthful to oneself, and also finding yours, because sometimes we think what we desire. A lady was during the week, I heard a lady say, sometimes our desires and what our purpose is not the same thing, you know. And I found that very profound. What do you take? What would influence people not to be honest with themselves, and also not finding that true purpose in terms of why they are here?
Okay, one, you know, it starts from a young age. I would take it to the responsibility actually lies with our parents. But because we're coming from generation of parents that didn't know better, hence it has occurred for so many years. And sometimes it takes a little bit of chaos and a little bit of those downfalls and wounds that the scars that you encounter along the way, that you go back and sit alone and reflect and ask yourself, actually, who am I as king? Who am I as Masasela? What is my purpose? And, you know, I'll say me as a young man, because it also starts when you start the age of puberty, where you're finding identity crisis. That's where I say, men, we need to play our role the most. But the reality is we're living in a society of absent fathers. You know, me growing up, I had to learn that it's not actually, a father figure is not being biological father. A father figure is being able to take any young man in a society and turn them into a better man. You know, I was fortunate enough to come across Mr. Menzi in my life. And trust me, it took only one conversation that took an hour that made me go back and sit and reflect alone and deal with my emotions and things at the time that I felt like it was peer pressure. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to, you know, there was a lot that was happening at the time, but you realize that it's also the pressures of the society, the peer pressure. But if you don't have a father figure in your life, it's easy to go astray. And once you go astray, that becomes a habit. A habit becomes a norm. So we are living in a society where a lot of people have what we call norms. And for them to sit with themselves, a lot of guys are afraid to sit alone. A lot of guys are afraid to just be single for a week and sit and reflect, you know? Instead, they go out there and find something that can just numb or shy away from the reality. So that's the problem that we are having, and it will take a lot of us as men to build a community, and a community where we can be truthful and honest with each other. As hard as it is, we have to be, because we also, you know, have this society and this mentality as men. We don't really build each other. We say we're protecting each other, but I don't call that protection, because we are actually breaking each other. Instead of, when you see that I'm out of line, you will protect me because you feel, nah, it's my brother, it's a brotherhood, manhood code that does not really build. You know, instead of just telling me, you know what, King, what you're doing is wrong. Look at it this way, because the reality is, in life, we have different perspective. We are standing at different position, and we can all be looking at one thing, but we are seeing it different. But it's very important to come together as men and share our perspective and build from it.
No, thank you for that, King. You're saying a lot. We'll unpack it. Some of what you said, I would like to just return to it maybe later, Masasela, towards the end of this conversation. I would like to hear maybe Xaba, if she has anything to say right now. If she doesn't, then maybe we can. I would like to reflect. I'll say something in a few minutes, and then I would like to look at the questions of the comments from our co-creators, our guests in this conversation. Xaba, do you have anything to say at the moment?
No, not at the moment. I'm just soaking in everything. It's just so beautiful. Yeah, so beautiful to hear, and the breakdown of everything.
Yes, we give thanks. So what Nkulu is saying is actually making me think back on a lot that has been said in the past 3 sessions, you know, from the time of, I don't remember which session it was, but when Coco Joy Mahome was with us, you know, she was talking about that balance, and she was very emphatic about it, and in fact quite emotional about it, you know, as much as she was very clear about her the rest of the conversation. But when it came to the fact that our society needs men and women to work together, she was very emphatic about it. So as Nkulu is speaking, I'm thinking of that. But also I'm thinking of Mama Motsei recently in our last session that we had, when she was, in fact, from the time of our meeting, when we were speaking about who is going to our meeting, our private meeting as Ikhambi, who is going to what's the word, interview her. You know, remember, Nkosi, I was like, no. You guys, if it's about womb healing, you guys need to deal with it. You have wombs, I don't have a womb, so you need to deal with it. You know, but that both of you mentioned that, no, it's okay for a man to speak about issues of the womb. I mean, we come from the womb. But then later on, I went to speak with Mama Motsei. She gave me even a deeper perspective beyond the fact that we come from a womb, all of us, men and women. She said there is a metaphysical level of looking at the womb and looking at healing from that perspective. And she was speaking not just only about the womb, she was speaking about what Babu Masasela just also mentioned, Nkulu, about society, that a man who is emotionally sound and psychologically ready, and who is not, what's the word I'm looking for, who is not afraid of showing his emotion, also knows how to take care of the community. It takes every child, not just the physical child, it takes every child has his own, you know. So, but I don't want to also just focus on just the men. I just wanted to raise that in the previous conversations we've had, sessions, it keeps coming up that men should be very comfortable with their emotions. In fact, we should be intelligent about our emotions, and not just intelligent, but we should be socially reflective and socially relevant about our emotions. Uthini gogo, umama Marumo, Queen Marumo, anything that you need to add?
Cool. Yeah, you've touched on a lot of things. It doesn't only take men, even women play a bigger role, because we also are raising daughters who aren't our daughters. We've got fellow sisters, fellow colleagues and also just in society that look up to us. So it's a lot of work. You know, I'm out here being Queen Marumo, but I'm actually representing a lot more of other women who don't have the opportunities that I have to speak out. You know, the power of healing, finding your purpose, which I found in healing. A lot wish and pray for that, because being in that space, you attract different souls, different individuals coming into your space. Abo mama badala, abo gogo, ingane ezincane, you know, you attract those, and that's an opportunity for you. Ukubakhulisa, not only as Rosine, but ukubakhulisa as a woman, because there's points where you switch off uphume edlozini and talk to them as a woman, as a sister, as a mother. So it's quite amazing. I don't think we realize how fortunate we are as healers, as Ikhambi, to have this platform to heal people, heal souls, you know, both men and women. So it's a true blessing. And that's where we found our purpose. A lot are still seeking to find their purpose in life. They're still caught up in the chaos. Not that we don't have chaos, we have it, but because we found the purpose, it's almost balanced.
No, it's true. It's true. You know, that thing, what we are speaking about is very important in this issue of Maat, when we are speaking about community, because what is healing for if it is not healing the community? You can heal yourself, but what about in your own family? But you've been given these gifts, just like we say in our pledge. We will give back to nature what she has abundantly given us. I would like us to move to this aspect of Maat now, as well, not move to it, we are actually already in it. You know, I like to take a step back into the ancient times, during the times when the concept of Maat was introduced to a society by Tehuti. Tehuti, the scribe or the storyteller, or the one who governs intelligence and governance and writing and stories, introduced Maat to the earth as a way to make sure that kings and kingdoms and civilizations they make sure that they adhere to the divine principles. And by divine principles, we basically mean natural laws. Natural laws that should be observed, because if we do not observe them and respect them, we will find ourselves in a chaos, because there are forces in the earth. Tehuti understood that there are forces in the earth that basically thrive on chaos. They thrive on violence, they thrive on aggression, they thrive on, not bacteria, but they thrive on, they're like a virus that needs bodies in order to keep alive, right? So Maat was introduced on earth in order to make sure that if we observe the natural laws, if we observe Amakhambi, if we observe the stars and the heavenly bodies, and observe and understand ourselves, then we will be restored to our divine glory, to our being that is complete, that is in harmony with everything. So I like to reflect like that, so that we can look at, we're speaking about Maat, which is Ubuntu. In the South, we call it Ubuntu. In Zimbabwe, they say it's Unu, which means the sense of being, or Chivanu, the sense of being human, right? But Maat is, as I'm reflecting now, is beyond just human beings. It's about making sure that nature is in order. Just wanted to say that. Can I, before anyone speaks, can I just speak about, say something that Nkosi said here in the chat? She said, I've been meditating on balance, and what it means to me is harmony. I feel more empathetic and held in this state of balance. I like that. I feel more empathetic and held in this balance. So open-minded, I feel angizithwelelanga, which means I feel like I am not carrying everything by myself. Any reflections on that? Anyone?
Well, harmony is important. I mean, when there is balance, everything that you touch and people around you, because of that energy that you produce, even the plants around you get life and they get excited. So that's when there is harmony, that's when there is balance. But where there is no balance, there's a lot of chaos. So harmony is very important. So it's very important for each and every individual to find balance, you know. So we are there to also, you know, once you find your own balance as a healer, you need to be able to help the society out there and the Mother Nature, because as much as Mother Nature gives, we also need to give back.
Absolutely. Yes, Nelly has her hand up. She's back. Yeah, you need to give back as Mother Nature gives us. Nkosi, you're back. Thanks.
I'm back. I'm having bad network connectivity. I'm back though. I can't switch on my camera because I'll lose network again. Okay. So as Umkhulu was speaking about harmony being balanced and everything, it just reminded me that the great mother Maat is truth, justice, and order, and social order. And for me, it reminded me of our responsibility as not just as healers, but as humanity to take care of nature. And I was triggered in a way that I thought about the over-harvesting that actually happened. And when we go to the rivers and we actually leave stuff and we don't, you know how very passionate I am about environmental well-being, and not just us taking care of our bodies, but also us taking care of our environment, and also remembering you need to ask permission from Mother Earth to actually harvest these plants and everything. And I almost feel like we've drifted so far away from the original teachings of us being in unison with nature in some way. I just wanted to find out from the king and the queen on what would be for them the recommendations in terms of restoring that relationship between us and nature and our environment in general, because it also touches on society. It's a reflection on that.
I think for us, we're fortunate that we surrounded by people that are much older than us, that always remind us of Ubuntu, like what you touched on, Guti. Even if you go to the mountain to dig out Ikhambi, you know the rules, Guti. You need to ask permission. And both myself and the king, we were both raised by Abogogo and Abomkhulu, who were healers. So these things we saw growing up, and those are the things that we still continue to do. And the river thing, I mean, that's just, it's one of the things that always gets me in, it leaves me feeling like, we get shocked when certain rivers are closed, that you're not allowed entry, but then we don't think of how do we find the place clean, but we leave it in a mess. So we need to create that thing within yourself, which if I come there within cook or whatever, I will clean after myself, because it's everybody for their own. If we can all do our bit, clean, sense or whatever we're supposed to do, then everybody else will do the same thing. And go back to basics. We tend to forget about Ubuntu. Ubuntu has always been there before ubungoma. So ubuntu le ukuthi kumele uqele, because bongamane ufike nje ukhatha isihlahla or whatever without asking Mother Nature for it. So some of the things we just need to go back to basics. So as much as we think abantu abadala, they're boring, they don't know anything, find them, you know, who know isintu, learn from them. You can never go wrong being surrounded by older people around you as a youth, you know, as a youngster.
Do you think that we're doing enough to educate the next generation so that bangaqali from zero like we did? We have to find the information. You know, I know we're doing these lives so that we preserve the knowledge, but do you think that we're actually doing enough to really educate our children, the next generation, and our peers as well? Because I don't know, yeah.
Yeah. Thokozani. You know, this just takes me back to my childhood and how my grandmother raised me and the things I saw her do to Mother Nature, and how it's very important, as much as you ask, after you get what you're asking, you need to plan back. So we're in a generation today where people buy a community, then they leave the seeds just over there and they die killed by the sun instead of them planting back in Mother Earth. The ones that go to the river, they forget one thing. They are river spirits that needs to be respected, that needs to be valued. So if you get in a river and you do things and then you just leave things like that, those are some of the things that get a lot of people in danger, because when you return and you violated this guy before, you don't know what's going to happen. That's the danger that we are facing. That's the danger we are facing today, because people harvest, but they don't plant back. We need to go back to the roots where we plant back. You know, it's a give and take. But we are in a society today where we are just consumers. We just want to consume. Where it comes from, if it's going to be there tomorrow, we don't care. And I think as healers, we need to go back there to the roots.
But Gogo, your question was, are we doing enough? I would think a good start would be for likes of Abo Gobela, who have a bigger, you know, if unamatwasana I-4-5, start teaching them then, which manenza insebenzo, niyaklina, nenza all those things, and nabo, they'll extend to their own twasana. Same as you as a family, if we had to go for a picnic around nature with the kids, we know after sidla, whatever, you clean up after you don't leave a mess. So it starts, you know, start small. What you do for one person, that's how it's gonna be. So I think every person needs to take it upon themselves. Hopefully to extend to the next. So whether we're doing enough, I think we try. I think the problem is, the question should be, what we try and teach to other people, are they in turn teaching to others? Is it a growing knowledge? Is it a growing experience? Or is it iselelekiti?
That is so profound. I just wanted to read a comment from Dr. Lena. She said something very, very profound. She says, the environment is us. We are dust, and we become dust after death, as we are buried in the ground. Because we are all elements, it's only but right to ask for permission and also give gratitude after taking water from the river, trees, roots, and barks, so that they don't just help us, but those we aim to help. That was, I thought that was very, very profound. Menzi.
I'm just thinking, as I read that, as I'm listening to that statement by Kokolin, would it be wrong for me to ask you to tell us a little bit more about the actual herbs for this season, the ones that maybe you were looking at, just the herbs, because we are speaking about herbs now, harvesting and all that, and giving back to nature. I have so much to say about the issue of teaching in Twasweni or in general public, but I'm going to park my lots of questions and comments regarding the issue of teaching, how to remind ourselves and to keep things alive. There's a lot that I could say, but I can talk a lot. Can you just tell us a little bit more about Ama herbs? What herbs do we need in this time of Maat? Yes, Waga?
Is that for me, Nkulu?
Yes, that's for you.
Okay, so just before we joined, we actually had a brief discussion, because it's, for me, the season of Maat, it's all about speaking to truth, because I was struggling to decide in terms of which herbs bestly make you aligned with Umaat, and speaking your truth and living your honest truth is what Umaat is about. And for me, opening up your throat chakra, it was something that actually popped up, and based on the fact that we also do, in terms of the principles of Maat, the affirmations and the declarations that are required. I'm just thinking about the 42 laws of Maat, the declarations that we do at the end of the day. We spoke about this during the first session. If you'd like to know more about those, please do check them out. Menzi went in depth in terms of that. So the herbs that I thought would be most relevant in order to bring ourselves in alignment with the principles of Maat, I thought of the most basic one, which is Helichrysum splendidum, better known to as Impepo. Impepo, when you drink it as a tea, it opens up your throat chakra. And I thought, when your throat chakra is open, you are able to speak your truth. But also bearing in mind that Xaba always reminds us that you cannot just begin at the top. You need to start with your root as well. There's no work that you're going to do if your root chakra is not, if you're not grounded in who you are, and so if you're not grounded, this will probably not even work for you. And for me, I thought about Helichrysum, and I also thought about mint as well, and I thought about ginger. But one of the things that I actually thought about was lavender, because it helps you to bring yourself into alignment, and peppermint, because you can't think properly and you can't live your truth if you have a lot of anxiety. And lavender and chamomile actually calm you down, and they help you think clearly, and almost in that state, identify whether it is the voices of society or it's your own voices that are actually speaking. Those are my thoughts.
No, thank you for that. Can I just hear from Nkosi Uguti, what are other herbs, or what are other uses of Impepo, Helichrysum, that you know of, besides phuza ngayo, ugeza ngayo, ushunqisa, burning it? What other uses of Impepo are there?
Before the open discussion, I just wanted to remind people that we actually, for those who are not familiar, so we did a whole session about Impepo, and we did touch on the healing properties of Impepo Mokeza Ngayo Islond, that it actually heals the wound faster. And we also spoke about how it actually helps clear out body odor as well.
Oh, okay, thanks. No, people can check that session out for sure. Ngicela ukuza from Nkosi ukuthi wena yiphi ezinye indlela abayisebenzisa ngayo beyond what we've shared.
Thokozamkhulu.
Thokoza.
The Impepo issue, it's basically, I think you guys touched on most of it. It works for a lot of things. and it also helps a lot. But also the skin, you know, most people that have skin issues, it's good mixed with aloo as well, together, boiled together, and then you use that, and you can, you know, so it's good for a lot of things. And the other one is if a child has issues with sleeping, you know, when you're having a newborn and they're having issues with sleep, you can use the ashes of it mixed with Vaseline, and obviously just put it here on their forehead, and it protects them from all this bad auras and stuff that actually disturbing the kids' sleep. So that's one of the other things that you can use it for.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I've got nothing
So I
new
need to
to
remind
add. Yeah.
Kula, I also wanted to remind people that Impepo is a good air disinfectant. It clears out bacteria lingering in the air as well. If you smudge your house with it, it's very good. Remember, we spoke about this when we were right there in the peak of this current pandemic, that smudging your house with Impepo clears out the lingering bacteria.
For sure. The Queen had something to say?
Oh no, I had nothing new to add. It's just that I'm fascinated by how the users of Impepo are rising, because before Impepo was only associated with Ubungoma, you know, Unugimpepo, that means you were Endumbeni or somebody. So now there's so many other users that everybody can use it for, you know, the youth. Now there's Impepo soap, there's the tea. So I'm loving what I'm seeing out there in the market, which is no longer associated with Uguti. It's more, you know, a commercial thing that everybody can use and benefit from it. So without them even realizing, which is by introducing Impepo as it is, as Ikhambi, you know, they enjoying the benefits without even having to go in Lumbeni and feeling like, oh, we're being forced into this Ubungoma thing that they all associate Impepo with. Bazo a busy sage, but in
We have a raised hand from Nita. Nita, you can unmute and speak.
So Wazan, I didn't want to speak on herbs, but I just wanted to go back when Menzi says we're coming to the end, or the end of Maat, right? So initially we went through this journey of chaos, set, right? Then we transitioned into going into Maat, where we had to now work on ourselves, calm ourselves, find our balance, be honest with ourselves. So now my question is that now we've done the work, we've gotten out of the chaos. Now we're literally into where we've worked so much on ourselves and the season is about to end. How are we now transitioning into a new season? Is there a new season? And if there is a new season, how are we then transitioning? Because we've put in the work, we've strengthened our characters, our core, the people that we want become, the healers that would want to become. So now that we've done that work and we're transitioning into a new season, what is this new season and how does it look? How does this transition look for us going to the next season? That was my question.
I find that quite a good question, but I would
Such a good question. It's an exciting one.
I would start with an attempt to answer, but I would like my colleagues to also help me to answer it, and maybe also zone into the fact that what is the next season after Maat. But before we get there, let me just answer this question the way that I'm thinking about it, what is coming to my mind. You've answered the question through the quality of the question. You see what we always say, that the quality of the question itself bears the fruits of the answer, bears the answer. You said we've rooted ourselves, we've learned a lot, we've come out of the chaos, we've done the reflections, we've done the work, and we are getting ready as healers for a new season. And you need to know what is that new season. My colleagues will help me in terms of expanding more on the upcoming season. But you see, with Maat, I have to answer like this. With Maat, every single day is a Maat day. Every single day, it is one of those neter or natural forces which governs every other natural force. Nothing occurs without her. Whatever occurs without her bears an energy of destruction. It is the opposite. It's opposition. Maybe someone else can speak about the issue of opposition later, maybe to do planets and things like that. But Umaat, the season we've come through is a season of preparation. It's a season of ukuzila. It's a season, yes, there's been chaos, but we've gone through Maat, which is, ngesizulu we use the word ubulungiswa. I like to return to this word all the time, because ubulungiswa basically means justice. And Maat is the neter, or the natural force that governs justice. But ubulungiswa means justice. There's this interesting word that they use for jail. It's called correctional services. Why do people go to the correctional services? Because they have done something, right? And they've been judged, and then they are taken to correctional services. On the surface, it looks like punishment. But the reason why the word jail and prison was transformed in the New Dispensation to correctional services is because you are there to become corrected as an individual, so that you can go back to society as an individual who will not repeat their wrong. Now we know human nature, and we know also the other influences that come and influence us. A person who has been an offender and goes through correctional services sometimes commits the same sin, right? And commits the same wrong. Sometimes not because they really want to, but sometimes they're forced to, whatever circumstances that bring a person to that level. At the end of the day, they go through correctional services and they can go back again. The point I'm raising is that Maat, you come back to Maat all the time. It is a correctional service which is cosmic. It's a spiritual correctional service. It is not one that is established by the powers that be in the government. It's a correctional service that is established by the divine beings. It was established by nature. It's established by the creator. Whether you call the creator Ramasedi, Ra, Mvelinqandi, whatever you like to call, that is the correctional service. So we move into from that season of correction and of exacting justice in every way, like we've already been speaking about, how to be just to nature, how to be just to society as parents and as individuals, as men and as women. Now, being just is not something that ends because the season of justice has ended. It means that justice must prevail. Why? Because you are rooted in it, right? And you declare it with your mouth every day. You take declarations. One of them says, I have not told lies. One of them says, I have not carried away food. And another one says, I have not polluted the water. It means throughout the year, you have to keep by those declarations that you have declared to yourself and to nature.
I'd like to put on like my take on the question, so in terms of an answer. So basically, Set is a season where everything fell apart. Even the planets that we had around that time, June to mid-July, everything was in retrograde. So you had your Pluto, you had Saturn, you had Mercury. So we had all of those planets in retrograde that were basically telling us that we need to basically, it was just basically telling us that we need to rebuild. So we need to start everything from scratch, and we need to really dig deep in where we are as a people, as a person. And then from there on, we transitioned into Maat, which Maat is basically saying, okay, let's restore back balance. Let us now, we've done the work in Set where everything fell apart. Now let's put everything together, which then becomes an ongoing thing, as what Menzi has spoken about, is that we keep on being in that space of having to come back to ourselves, like in a sense. And from there on also, in terms of astrology, because I always link everything up to astrology, Maat is represented by the water barrier, which we know in the West is called the Aquarius energy. And the Aquarius energy is basically just that, collecting all of the wisdom from all the other signs and from Earth, basically, because we've been going through a lot of Earth signs, and pouring it into Earth. Aquarius is an air, is an air sign. So basically pouring it into the Earth by air, by being the waters of life, so to say. So Maat becomes the waters of life. And therefore you drink water every day, and it's so important. It doesn't end. But in terms of that, cosmically, in terms of seasons and the energy, we then move on to Unut. And Unut is where we actually now, it's a culmination of everything. It's the last month of the year before we start our new month in September by the return of the sun. And now Unut is where we are from, I guess, from the time of Set, Maat, and Unut, becomes your reflection time. That becomes the time of what have you done in this past year? What are you looking forward to and planning towards in the new year? And Maat is really good also for long-term planning. So she really helps you be able to have your long-term plans, not just short-term as in 3 months or whatever. She's really about long-term, like where am I going long-term? So this is also a good time for that, which then Nut also solidifies, because Nut is basically the mother cosmically of the heavens. So she's that Pisces energy of everything in the heavens. And basically the heavens, that's when you start now. In the next season, we're going to asking for that help from the heavens, calling upon your ancestors, calling upon your creator to bring that wisdom to you and to help you in terms of all the things that you are doing. So also, I'd like to just, something that I remind myself a lot, that I'd always want to remind everybody else, healing is not linear, we must move away from this thing of thinking, but I've done the work, why am I still here? It's like a new experience each time. It's a new experience. And I mean, I remember from the session with Ujoy where she spoke about, don't gaslight yourself, don't be so hard on yourself so much, you're doing your best, and your best really is enough, with what you're doing. We always want to be doing more. Should I be doing more? No, you are perfectly positioned where you are right now, and you need to give yourself grace, and you need to give yourself time, and to know that each season will deepen something in you in a different way, and be open to it and be gentle with yourself on that. So I hope that answers it. Nkosi?
So as you were speaking, I was actually remembering the words of the great Umkhulu Samazulu, Ubab Credo Muta, when he said that when the healing stops, it means you're dead. It has to be like it's a continuous work and an effort. And also bearing in mind, when also want to remind people, just as you've done now, is that when the seasons, it doesn't mean that the divine force is no more there. It's just that during that time, hence we call them seasons, that divine force is more, the energy is more strengthened. It doesn't mean as we enter into the season of Unut, that the divine energy of Maat has now suddenly diminished. No, it has not. And there are some people who actually feel more hype. That's why we give recommendations in terms of when you want to bring yourself closer to the energy of Maat, you put yourself around the colors of indigo, and you surround yourself with stones and whatnot. And you can still do that outside the season of Maat, but during this time, this is when her energy is most powerful. And it doesn't mean that during the month of Nut, you cannot still want to bring yourself closer to the principle, to Maat. Also bearing in mind that Maat, it also depends on what kind of calendar. We spoke about this Nomkhulu Menzi earlier, that it's also depends on what kind of calendar that you're using. We are using the Anunian calendar, if I'm not mistaken, Nomkhulu Menzi, and the other people are using a different type of calendar where the energy of Maat is depending on how you harness it, is more powerful to maybe in a different time as to ours. So I also want to just remind people of that.
Yes, I'd like to add this. Thank you for that. Yes, indeed. Kukanjalo. I'd like, because we are in the South and we are Nguni people, Basotho, Batswana, Bantu from the South, south of the equator. I'd like to remind us that when we mention these names, they must never sound strange. And the reason why we keep harping at them and we're using them seasonally and we are returning and to these, they're like what in the West they call archetypes, right? The archetypes, for those who study psychology or I don't know what else they use in archetypes in whatever level of study. The point is, we are speaking these words, Maat, Nut, Set. They are not strange words to Africa. They only become strange because we've been taken away, they've been taken away from us. And there are there's many others which are not Egyptian or Kemetic. If you go to East Africa, if you go to Ethiopia, they call the creator by the name of Wak or Wakafana. This name, W-A-A-Q, or an A sometimes, Waka. It basically means that the supreme dark one, the supreme one who lives in darkness. But when they depict this work in terms of a figure, just like you find in Kemet, we have Maat as a figure of a woman with wings, holding a scale and has a feather on her head. In fact, when I started this, I thought I was gonna talk about the feather. In fact, when we started this conversation, I thought we were just gonna talk, I was gonna talk about the feather, why the feather is important in kingdom, in writing, in various things, the feather alone. But I'm raising this and I'm making an example of Wak, the Ethiopian ancient deity or god, supreme being called Wak, by the Oromo people, who's worshipped by the Oromo people, the original people of Ethiopia. They depict Wak as a tree, just like you see the symbol of Ikhambi. It's a tree with its roots going from the soil into the water. Even in the Oromo flag, you find it's a red flag on top, it's white in the middle, and it's black at the bottom. The white reflects, it stands for water and spirit. The blackness stands for the unknowable, the deep, ancient, and very dark a being of God, like you cannot approach the creator, right? And then the red stands for the blood of the people. But the point I'm making is not all that. The point I'm making is the fact that the depictions of the creator for us African people are many, and we should not find them strange when we hear of a new depiction that is not reflected of myself as Mswati or as Umzulu or as Msotho, right? We must, it is inselelo for us. It is a challenge to go back and look at how powerful our ancestors' depictions of the creator are and how all pervasive they basically, the knowledge of the creator, the knowledge of God is something that helps us in every aspect of our life. The same Ethiopian way of looking at God, it has Maat in it. If you go to Zimbabwe, you'll find Maat in it. If you go to Burkina Faso or Cameroon or Eswatini, you'll find there is something that is reflected. This is exactly the thing that we are describing when we describe Maat. So I just wanted to raise that as we're talking about seasons and the changes and chaos and order and all that. It's not something new. It's not something that came with Egyptologists. It is something that we as African people have always had. We always have it, and we must just deepen our knowledge of it. Give thanks.
I just want to read a comment from Dr. Lina. She says, the season may end, but each person has their own layers to deal with. Remember, each person has gone through their own chaos, but the process for everyone is different, which is quite important to keep in mind.
That itself tells me that everyone is different. We all have our different experiences, and we also approach divinity in different ways. But it's important to actually have those common understandings of certain things. so that as we grow together, we don't clash. We don't clash like on a cerebral level. So siyaphikisana, but siphikisana ngento efanayo, and it's not necessary.
We are approaching the end of our today's session. I just wanted to get the King and the Queen's parting words. Like, what do you want to leave the people with? What do you want to leave people thinking about? Something to think about, and yeah, and where do they find you?
What I would like to leave people with is stay grounded, stay true to yourself, and sit down with yourself as a man. Do a self-introspection. Ask yourself, what do you want to leave behind when the day you leave this world? And I want to challenge men on code of honor. What is honor according to you? Because a lot of us, we walk around without honor. The day we find the value of honor as men, we'll have a better society and a better tomorrow for our future kids, for the future generation. We are in Joburg South. If you want to come and consult with us, that's where we are based. We'll leave our details, I guess, on your page later on, where people can find us. So, yeah.
Give thanks.
After you, my lady.
Okay. I would like to add to what Umkhulu is saying. I mean, stay grounded, be true to yourself. And we tend to follow what everybody's doing. Try and find who you are as an individual. And, the purpose of having all these different people in our lives is to learn from them. So take one thing from Nkosi, take one thing from Umkhulu. Yeah, you take one thing from each person to build, and from once you've collected all these things, you can decide which can you be that, but don't copy someone else entirely. So be grounded. If you find your purpose, be grateful and treat it with respect, because it's not everybody that has found their purpose. Be true to yourself. Don't do things just because everybody else does it, because an unhappy person is an unhappy healer, an unhappy soul. And people see what you show us. So when you're not true to yourself and there's places where you're robbing yourself, we as outsiders, we can see that. And then there's nothing worse than watching someone who's pretending to be someone else, who is not true to themselves, who's not grounded. So as we end the season, we've all gone through the preparation. Now it's implementing what you've prepared and see, tweak characters here and there, add this and that. And from all the different people that we've met along this journey, pick one thing you like from them, tweak it so that you personalize it. Like Umkhulu said, we'll leave our details on the page Nelly. And yeah, like we said earlier, we practice as a couple, often together. So it's easy, if we have a couple coming to us, we're able to cover both male and female perspective. And, it's a very happy, balanced environment. And we're looking forward to talking to some of you in future. That would be.
I believe King Masasela is at King Masasela on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. And my understanding is that Queen Marumo does not have any social presence at all. Don't be deceived. They will correct me if I'm wrong. If anyone ever says that there's a Queen Marumo on social media, they lied to you. There is a King Masasela on social media, on Instagram as well as on Facebook. He's King Masasela. He also delivers very beautiful teachings. You can go and check out his page as well. Nkulu, parting words, Makaba, your parting words.
Is there anything from our audience? Anything anyone wants to say? Anything?
Nothing yet. I just want to quickly check Facebook and let you know.
Okay. No, go on.
No, it's fine. You can speak. I'm just checking Facebook for comments.
Mina, today, really, as I said, I wanted to speak only about the feather of Maat, but Sisi Avala, and I think this is a good time to close. You know, Maat has 42 declarations. Sometimes they are called words of virtue. Umkhulu, when he speaks about honor and authenticity, Ukoko speaks about authenticity, be yourself, don't copy other people. For me, that's all totally Maat level of being, because it is saying that in being yourself, you are restoring order to the world, because clashes happen out there because people are busy trying to be something they are not. Nami, I must check myself. In what way is Menzi Maseko not being Menzi Maseko? The one everyone sees, because I may keep dark secrets. Those dark secrets are going to affect me, and they're also going to affect the people that I heal and the people that I work with. So I give thanks for this moment. I give thanks for life. And Ashe, Maat Hetep. Maat Hetep. Ukutulaga Maat.
My final thoughts. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This has been really a good session. Thank you for making time this rising to spend time with us and just share, and for us to, grow together. I think to speak on the feather, Maat, my parting words are just be light with yourself, live light, be gentle with yourself, with others. When you see a feather, it's very gentle, it's very, so embody that. Let it be in also your temple, how you eat, the words that you speak, the thoughts that you think, just live light. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Margaret, thank you so much, beloveds. So as I share my parting words and close off the session, I just wanted to just remind people, just as Menzi Xaba, about the feather. Is your heart lighter than the feather? In the balancing scale, Maat, we see the heart and we see the feather. The feather is something very, very light, and we often think that the heart is like something heavy. And for me, when you've reached that point where your heart is lighter than the feather, it's when you're living your true purpose, your true authentic self. And it's not something that you can't drink a pill and expect it to happen overnight. It is constant work. It's always constantly checking yourself. Sometimes when you do falter, as Xaba usually says, be kind to yourself. It's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to almost go back and to basics and reground yourself, but the most important thing, you don't stop trying. When you stop trying, it's almost like you're giving up in some way, and there's no a finish line when it comes to this healing thing. And if you do reach a finish line, I'll also remind people of what I said earlier on about Ubabu Vusamazul. But when you found that true balance, you're no more here. You're no more here. We're constantly battling with that balance and trying to bring ourselves to that balance each and every day. It's a daily work. There's no finish line. And with that being said, please do join us on the next session, where we will be bringing in the season of the Mother of the Skies, Yay. Unut. So you do catch us on all our socials at Ikhambi Natural Healing, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, Ikhambi Natural Healing. Do send us an email at admin@Ikhambi Natural Healing or at Ikhambi. Makaba, what's the Gmail account? Please remind me.
It's Ikhambi. Okay, wait. Now, okay. The Gmail account is
Ikhambihealing@gmail.com.
yeah, like it can be healing@gmail.com.
Yes. Do please drop us an email, inbox us. We're happy to engage with you, or we're happy to refer you to somebody who will be able to help you.
Like and share. YouTube, like and share.
Like it. Yes, please, please. With that being said, have a blessed Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your day and the week ahead. Guys.
Ashe.